Good morning. It is 8:35, and I'd like to welcome everybody to this edition of the LaGrange Board of Adjustments and Appeals. Today is Monday, November the 17th. It's about 8:35 a.m., and the board is now in session. I'd like to ask everybody, first off, if you have cell phone and so forth, any other noise makers, to please turn them down. If you do get a call, ask you to step out of the room to take that call. So we have two items on the docket this morning. The very first being LG 25-003, and this is for 2120 Spencer Court. So,
good morning. Sandy Regroda, Oldham County Planning. An application has been filed requesting a side yard setback variance for a proposed commercial building located at 2120 Spencer Court in LaGrange. It is zoned I-1 light industrial and the land use is undeveloped. It's 1.928 acres. Site history: in 2019, a site plan and landscape plan were approved for a mechanic shop at this location, but development never commenced. The technical review committee was August 20th. The agenda, it was posted to the planning website on October 30th. Adjoining property owners notice mailed on October 31st, and public notice appeared in the Oldham Era on 11/6. Here is an aerial of the area. The zoning, where it's I-1 and next to it also is IPD. The applicant is requesting a side yard setback variance for proposed indoor pickleball facility. The property is zoned I-1 light industrial. According to section 190-020 of the Oldham County Comprehensive Zoning Regulations, the required side yard setback in I-1 zoning districts is 35 feet. The applicant is requesting a side yard setback of 20 feet along the southern side of the building. I'm going to show you that in a minute. The applicant is therefore requesting a 15-foot side yard setback variance. And here is the ordinance stating the 35 feet. Here is the layout of the property, or here's the site plan and the layout. Here along this is where the setback is being requested, right here along this southern border. Here is a picture of the overall lot, and then this here on this side is where the variance is being requested. So in summary, the required side yard setback is 35 feet. Requested side yard setback is 20 feet, so the variance requested is 15 feet. So the variance shall only apply to the plan reviewed at the November 17th, 2025 LaGrange Board of Adjustments public hearing. And that would be it. Any questions? Okay.
I don't have any, no.
Okay, with the applicant, go ahead.
Is the building for the pickleball facility going to be pushed into that variance area? Is that the plan? The building needs to be bigger?
Yes, and I'll let the applicant speak to that in more detail. Okay?
Could you mention your name, address, sir?
Yes, sir. I'm just bringing up the presentation.
Okay, all right. I'm sorry. I wasn't paying attention.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the Board of Adjustments. My name is Brooken Smith. I'm an attorney with the law firm of Swansburg and Smith, PLLC. Our address is at 117 West Main Street here in LaGrange. And I'm here today on behalf of Pure Pickle, LLC, with respect to their application for a variance. With me today, I'd like to introduce Carl Lentz. He is the engineer on this project. I expect that he will also want to provide some information about this project to the board as well. But I've put together just a little bit of a presentation as to what Pure Pickle is asking. The basic request, as the staff mentioned, is they're asking for a variance from Oldham County Comprehensive Zoning Code Section 190-020 to allow a side yard setback of 20 feet along the southern side of a proposed building to be constructed at 2120 Spencer Court. That's a 15-foot variance from the regulation. And what you're seeing here, again, is similar to what the staff presented. It's just an aerial overhead with the project lot highlighted in yellow, and you see the neighboring developments around it. This is just a picture of the zoning map, again with the subject property highlighted, as the staff mentioned, this is zoned for I-1 for light industrial. These photos, I think, were also included in, or some of these photos were included in the staff presentation, but I just wanted to give a visual of what the site looks like now. As you can tell, this is currently undeveloped. This is a view from Spencer Court looking on the undeveloped property. This is a view to the north, the neighbor to the north with some development. This is to the east with some development. This is to the west. And then here's the south with, as you can see, there's a building that's been constructed along this road here. Here, this is an overhead of the site plan. It's been colored to show some of the green space that will be developed. And as the staff mentioned, the site plan is designed to construct an indoor sports facility, specifically pickleball courts. It includes a 24,869 square foot proposed building. The plan allows for 8 indoor pickleball courts, and I have the floor plan, which I'll show the board in just a minute, how those will be laid out. And once again, this is zoned I-1 for light industrial. What we are asking for, just to highlight what the request is this: the 35 foot setback on the southern end of the property. And as you can see, here's the property line where I'm tracing with the cursor here. The proposed building edge will be here. And so what we're talking about is this shaded red area. Otherwise, the 35 feet would incur into this red area. This is just a closer up view of what we're talking about. So there will be, if this application is approved, there will be a setback of 20 feet. We're just asking for 15 feet to accommodate the size of the building. I would like to ask Mr. Lentz to come up for just a second and maybe explain sort of the thought that went into this site plan and why the building is situated the way it is, necessitating the request for a variance.
All right. Go ahead. Sir, if you could state your name, address, and be sworn in, please.
Carl Lentz with LJB Inc., 2373 Armstrong Lane, Mount Washington, 40047.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Just to add a little bit, what Brooklyn was saying is, yes, the red shaded area is the encroachment into the 35-foot setback we're requesting a variance on. A couple site conditions exist before we actually developed the site plan here. If you look, the property, sort of the water storm drainage drains from the top corner, which would be the northeast corner of the site, back towards the southwest. Everything drains to that back left corner if you're looking at it from the road. So we'll just orient the building close to the road as we could. There's a 50-foot setback out front. And then with the combination of the parking requirements and along with the business model that Ms. Hartman, which owns Pure Pickle, she developed, she's done a lot of research on this. She's really big into pickleball. And she found that 8 courts that would give her the best bang for her buck is what she was saying. So she went to an architect, got a building laid out with 8 courts. She brought my engineering company a building layout. We took the site plan and incorporated it with the parking requirements, landscape requirements, all setback requirements, except for the variance that we're asking. Like the only regulation that we're asking for a variance is that side setback. And it sort of comes from, too, with the parking being in the rear, because moving the building towards the road just because of the topography of the land, the water drain to the back corner, and also the access along the north to get back to the parking lot. Sort of pulled that building a little bit towards the south property line. We've got a pretty good green space there. The existing trees are going to remain. Like I said, there's another probably 10 foot on the south side of the property line. On the adjoining property, there's actually a small retaining wall there now with the drive lane. So I think we're still got a pretty good buffer to the property to the south. Any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
Back corner, thank you. Is there any concern with all of the water draining to that corner that anything would then go on to the
Like I said,
property
we set it up
adjacent
in different drainage areas. We've got different catch basins, catchment areas that are going to slow the water down. We've actually, what we've got to do, since we're disturbing over an acre, we have to do water quality. Been through the TRC and spoke with Jim Silliman, the county engineer, about that. This site is on a regional detention basin, which contains the stormwater just on the south side of Commerce Parkway. So everything drains to the southwest and then drains south, and there's a pipe that goes under Commerce. And there's a regional basin there that handles stormwater runoff before it goes to the I-71 right-of-way. So we've got all of our pipes and all of our catchment areas set, draining to that back corner. We'll have a riprap outlet, head walls with some dissipators on it, and everything flows into that existing creek and ditch there on the rear of our property.
Okay. So it's, whether it's that variance line or forward, it's not going to affect the neighbor?
No, sir, not at all. No. Actually, our area disturbance is just probably 5 to 10 foot off the building, so we're still going to have a 10-foot area there. We're not doing anything yet.
Thanks.
Yes, sir.
Let me just sort of focus in a little bit on what the standard is that the board is applying today, so I can address the particular findings that need to be made in order to consider this request. And so the standard is set forth in state law, this KRS 100.243 sub 1. In order to approve the variance, the board must find that granting the variance will not adversely affect public health, safety, or welfare, will not alter the essential character of the general vicinity, will not cause a hazard or nuisance to the public, and will not allow an unreasonable circumvention of the zoning regulation requirements. In considering these and making these findings, the board may consider additional factors such as the variance arises from special circumstances which do not apply to land in the general vicinity or the same zone, that the strict application of the regulation would deprive the applicant of reasonable use of land or create an unnecessary hardship in the applicant, and that the circumstances are the result of the action the applicant has taken subsequent to the adoption of the zoning regulation from which relief is sought. So those are the findings and the standard and the factors. I'd like to sort of address them directly, and I will actually I would like to combine the first finding and the third finding requirement, the public health, safety, and welfare, and the nuisance or hazard and nuisance to the public, because I believe they're related questions, and I believe the analysis is essentially the same. But we submit to the board that this variance, the 15-foot variance request, will not adversely affect public health, safety, welfare, or create a hazard or a nuisance to the public. And this is a pickleball court. The building itself is not housing any inherently hazardous conduct or activity. It's consistent with the zoning, the I-1 zoning. This request has gone to the TRC, and my understanding is that there were no safety or other concerns that were raised at the TLC. And of course, if this is approved and the building goes forward, the building will meet all applicable building codes and fire codes to ensure safety. So we don't see that there is any risk to the public safety, welfare. There's no nuisance created from a 15-foot deviation from the setback. Also, the second, or I guess it's the second prong is we submit that this variance will not alter the essential characteristics of the general vicinity. Again, the property lies within the existing industrial commercial subdivision, so it's not any different in nature than what is already allowed. The variance will not affect surrounding properties, as similar conditions exist in this general vicinity. And what I would like to draw the board's attention to here is the zoning map, a little bit zoomed in from what I showed previously. Again, the subject property is in this purple area, and you can see that to the south, and I think you saw the picture earlier, this building is fairly close. The building to the south is fairly close to the property line. There are other buildings that again are not far to the east on 2121 and 2111 that are also close to the property line. So this is not very out of character for what is in this general vicinity. But beyond that, I do want to point out that the request that we are asking for a 15-foot variance is identical to a setback variance that the board granted under docket LG 07-003 on May 17th, 2007 for a neighboring property at 2151 Spencer Court. And this is a overview of shows how in close proximity 2120 Spencer Court is here to the property just, 2 lots to the north and to the east. And that was perfectly identical to what we're asking for here. It was just a 15-foot side yard setback. So again, this is consistent with what is already in the general vicinity. It's not any great deviation from what is already there. And then the final finding is that we submit that this variance will not allow an unreasonable circumvention of the zoning regulation. As Mr. Lentz explained, really this setback is necessary to accommodate the conditions on the lot itself with the drainage issues, also to comply with other requirements for parking and other setbacks. And it's been designed in order to allow this pickleball project, to be economically viable by allowing for the 8 pickleball courts. And just so you have an understanding to what the pickleball courts look, this is the actually floor plan for the pickleball course. You can see there's 2 pickleball courts at the very top, and then there's 2 rows of 3. I mentioned that the findings required are to show that there's not an unreasonable circumvention, which I believe this is a reasonable request. It's a relatively modest departure from the standard in order to fulfill the requirements of other zoning requirements, setback requirements, and the conditions of the land. But I would also add to this that one of the factors that you should consider is that if the denial of this request, if we had to comply with a 35-foot setback, that would result in the strict application. That would result in the deprivation of reasonable use and economic hardship. And ultimately, what that would do is it would require reducing the number of pickleball courts. As you saw from the aerials, the building is laid out such that the southern part of it allows for that 15-foot variance. But if we had to make the building smaller, that would then encroach upon the number of pickleball courts that are allowed. And I might ask Mr. Lentz to come up just once again and maybe explain exactly how that would work, if what would be the consequences if 35 feet was the rule.
Again, I spoke with Ms. Hartman, Pure Pickle. She's the applicant and going to be the owner of the property. She's really big into pickleball. She's did a lot of research, and the 8 courts makes the project economically feasible. The 15-foot actually gives us enough room for the 3 additional courts along the south property or along the south of the building. And like I said, just the nature of what we talked about, the drainage and the configuration of the lot, the topography, parking counts, the variances required for the project to be profitable and functional.
Again, this is all part of just trying to make this property productive. And I would just conclude by saying, again, we respectfully ask for you to grant this requested variance because this 15-foot variance, as I mentioned before, will not adversely affect anything. It won't adversely affect public safety or health or welfare. It will allow for the reasonable use, the productive use of this of this property. So we respectfully ask for your approval, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Do any of the board members have any additional questions for Mr. Lentz or anybody else?
Have any of the neighboring properties made any comments?
Not to my knowledge, but if Mr. Lentz,
We have not heard from any adjoining property owners.
Us as the engineers and designers haven't heard, actually the owner, the developer of the industrial park owns the property just to the north, and we've been back and forth talking to him, from the beginning.
On the design, are there garage doors on the sides at all, or is it all closed?
No, just, it's all enclosed, just the double man door in the rear, two man doors on the south side, fire access, one man door on the front.
Okay.
Just out of curiosity, is this a business that's open, 9 to 5, or, has specific hours, or are there memberships to the facility where somebody could go in 24/7 and play pickleball?
Really haven't spoke to the business model as far as the hours. She talked about, we've got a parking assessment that was required by TRC that talks about, peak AM and PM trips. So I'm vaguely remember the applicant saying, I think it starts at 6 and may run till 9 or 10, and maybe, on the weekends, maybe a little later. I'm not, like that, something
Okay.
like that.
All right.
But it's not 24 hours, no, sir.
Okay, thank you.
and also what I would this is a light industrial, so this isn't like in the midst of a neighborhood or anything like that, right? Where pickleball is going to adversely affect residential neighbors or anything like that.
Right, right. I've just really seen pickleball grow and grow and grow, and who knows what could happen. The whole court could end up being a pickleball court, but no, I'm just teasing with that. One last question. Are there any plans for a sprinkler system on this building?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I've been in conversations with Mr. Rose with Oldham County Water District, and we're putting in a fire vault, 6-inch fire line coming across the road and everything. Yeah,
Right,
we're gonna
right,
have
okay.
a sprinkler system. Yes, sir.
When that time comes and you actually submit for the building permit and all that, you'll have to submit plans to the fire department.
Yes,
That's one of your checkoffs and
We
all of
talked
that.
a little bit in TRC. We talked about, I believe they want a hydrant at the end there next to the fire connection on the building.
Yes,
The
sir.
fire vault, and stuff like
Okay.
that.
Just for purposes of the FDC, they're
Right.
probably going to request a remote thing instead of being attached directly to the building. I know that building
Okay.
to the left is attached directly to the building.
Right.
That was whatever year that was built, but
Sure.
nowadays they typically allow them.
Okay, standalone FDC out there next to the fire hydrant.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions or anything from anybody? So, all righty, none for me. Just FYI, Mr. Craig Mile is on his way in, but I don't think anything prevents us from moving forward to ask questions from him. Is there on that? Do we need Beach here before we make this motion, sir? He said he's on his way, but.
The last text I got from him told me to slow it down if possible. And I said, like LaGrange, that train has already started moving.
Yeah.
And then he told me to ask questions. I said, I don't know much about pickleball other than the possibility of an ACL injury.
Right.
That's all I've got. So he didn't really specify.
Okay, all right.
May I make a proposal, considering that we're still waiting for the attorney to show up? Is that we're waiting?
Yeah, that's what my question was for Ryan, is did we have to wait for him? Because we really don't have any questions for him. What is your feeling on that, sir?
I mean, obviously, I can't advise the board. If you wanted to allow for more time to give him a chance to show up, there's one more item on the docket. Coincidentally, I'm presenting for that one as well. If we wanted to maybe hold a vote on this one, if you wanted to wait for the county attorney or the attorney to show up, and we can go through that proposal as well, and then maybe that he'll be here when that presentation is concluded, and you can consider a vote. I just throw it out there. We would be fine with that, but just throw that as a proposal for the board.
I kind of like that idea better. If that's acceptable, Ryan, can I put I don't know, do we put a standby on this and go ahead with the next thing on the docket, or?
I think that might be a little confusing.
Okay.
I don't know, have we asked if there's anybody here to speak for
No,
or
I
against?
have not, no. That was my next thing.
We can
Is
go
there
through-
anybody present here today that wishes to speak either for or against the item on the docket here with the variance for the pickleball? Nobody raised their hand, so I assume there are none. I'm fine with moving forward with a motion, either for or against, whatever the board here decides, as long as you all are.
I'm
all in
fine.
agreement. Okay, everybody good with that? All righty, so then, there being none, nobody wants any comments, rebuttals, or final statements, is that correct? Go ahead, sir.
I don't really have much to add, Mr. Chairman, but I don't want to belabor this any more than it needs to be. I would just remind again, there's no evidence that this is going to cause any problems that would prohibit it from going forward. This is consistent with the surrounding area, including variances that have already been granted to a neighboring property. And this is a modest request for a slight deviation, I would argue. So it's not an unreasonable deviation from it, and it's again, to make this a productive development. So again, we would ask that you all approve our variance request. Thank you very much.
All righty. All right. Good morning, sir. Hi. Stand up.
He's supposed to be prepared. He's supposed to. Supposedly he's prepared. I don't know why.
Good morning, sir. We are getting ready to do a motion, and I think we've covered everything else. Everybody has had an opportunity to ask questions. There was nobody here opposed
We don't usually get out.
to speak in favor of. So we are now at that point of making a motion for the variance they're requesting, a 15-foot, as is mentioned in here. Yeah, okay. Okay. All right. Do you have any questions?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, do you have?
He sat right there.
Okay. Pretty cut and dry. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Consistent with the neighborhood.
Yes, yes, very much so. All righty. So as we move forward here, I'll ask the board somebody to make a motion. Here, Mr. Early's smiling, and so,
I'd like to move to approve the 15-foot variance by Pure Pickle LLC because it will not adversely affect the public health, safety, or welfare, and it will not alter the essential character of the general vicinity, will not cause a hazard or nuisance to the public, and will not allow an unreasonable circumvention of the requirements of the zoning regulations because the strict application of the provisions of the regulation would deprive the applicant of the reasonable use of the land or would create an unnecessary hardship on the applicant.
this also needs to have in that verbiage correct for all the information that was supplied only during this meeting of November the 17th. Is that correct? Conditions for approval. All righty. So we have a motion. Anybody have a second on this?
Yeah.
All righty. And all in favor at this time? Affirm by saying aye.
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 Anyone opposed? There being none, the motion passes for 15-foot variance on whatever the name of this is. Pure Pickle. That's all we have. Thank you.
We don't.
Next on the agenda is docket LG 25-004, and this involves 109 South Walnut Avenue. Go ahead, ma'am.
Hello again. An application has been filed requesting a maximum square footage variance for a detached garage on property located at 109 South Walnut Avenue in LaGrange. The property is zoned CN Commercial Neighborhood District. The land use is residential and commercial, and it's .222 acres. The site history: on July 23, 2024, a zoning map amendment from R4 to CN was approved by the Planning Commission. On October 21st, 2024, the City of LaGrange Board of Adjustments approved a conditional use permit for a short-term rental. It was posted to the planning website on October 30th. Adjoining property owners were mailed on October 31st. Public notice appeared in the Oldham Era on November 6th. Here's an aerial of the property. Here's the zoning. You see it's surrounded by C2 and CN and some R4. The applicant is proposing to construct a 960 square foot detached garage. The property is zoned CN Commercial Neighborhood District and is located within the LaGrange Historic District. The applicant will be required to obtain approval from the Historic District in addition to the LaGrange Board of Adjustments. The applicant is requesting the maximum square footage variance for accessory structures. According to Section 250-030B, accessory structures on parcels less than 20,000 square feet shall have a total maximum floor area of 800 square feet. The proposed 960 square foot detached garage exceeds the 800 square foot limit by 160 square feet. The proposed accessory structure appears to meet the remaining standards of 250-030 accessory uses and structures. Here is a proposed layout and sketch of what the garage is going to look like. Here is the location of the garage on the side yard over here. This is looking straight on. The top is looking towards from this neighboring property right here. Obviously, that's the main view of where the garage is going to be. Oops. And then over here, you can see this is from the corner of Walnut, I believe Washington, looking at it from that angle. So the maximum square footage allowed is 800 square feet. They're requesting 960 feet with a maximum square footage variance at 160. Here is the ordinance, which shows less than 20,000 square feet is the maximum allowed is 800 square feet. So the variance potential conditions of approval: the variance shall only apply to the application considered at the November 17, 2025 City of LaGrange Board of Adjustments. The applicant shall obtain approval from the LaGrange Historic District prior to applying for a building permit, and the applicant shall obtain all necessary permits and inspections from the appropriate agencies before occupying the structure. And that's it. And just up front, I did not hear from any adjoining property owners.
Okay. All righty.
Does it require an encroachment permit or driveway entrance by any chance?
I don't believe, I would think that it does, but that would be addressed in the building permit process.
Okay, because I know they got a pull-off right there, but if, I guess they would just abandon that and just use the driveway. I mean, everybody gets a driveway. Okay.
is this located in the historic district? Does that come into play?
Yeah, they will
anywhere
have
here?
to, yeah, they will be required to obtain approval from the historic district.
And that's for, does that approval from them have to do anything with, the 800 square foot, or is that just by design itself, the overall design? I don't know nothing about the,
Yeah, it would be the design. They would have some input on the design. They usually like them to be consistent with the period, Not that it has to be made out of stone and cobblestone or anything.
gotcha, yeah.
I'll let the applicant talk more about the design, but I know that they are trying to mirror the house.
Okay. All righty. Next up, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just give me a minute to, I've got another presentation to pull up. Okay, good morning once again. Just for the record, my name is Brooklyn Smith, Swansburg & Smith, PLLC. I'm an attorney. We're located at 117 West Main Street, LaGrange, Kentucky. And here I'm appearing on behalf of Cornell Property with respect to their request for a variance. Our request is that the Board of Adjustments approve a variance of the maximum floor area of an accessory structure, in this case a two-car garage, to be located at 109 South Walnut Avenue pursuant to Oldham County Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance Section 250-030B1 from 800 square feet to 960 square feet. Here is an overhead view of the property in question. It sits at the intersection between the main commercial thoroughfare of East Main to the north and a residential block located to the south of this area on the corner of South Walnut Avenue and East Washington Street. You can see there's already an existing structure here, and the proposed accessory would be constructed in this undeveloped portion of the property. This is a picture of the existing building. It's, as the staff mentioned, it's Zone C for commercial neighborhood. It currently houses a public museum dedicated to former residents, songwriter Buddy Pepper, and USS Indianapolis sailor Howard Strawn. It is also used for non-owner occupied short-term rental property. This slide was included in the staff report, but just for your all's benefit, this is a drawing of the proposed accessory, the two-car garage. You can see, I believe it will have to have a driveway that I think should be dealt with in the permit process, but the driveway would accommodate the ability to park two cars in the garage. I would like to draw your attention to the fact that the design has been done in such a fashion to include the siding to match the color of the existing structure. You can see that that's the existing siding, and this is meant to conform to the current appearance of that property. Additionally, this would allow for storage, additional storage. And what I would like to do is, with me today is Don Cornell. He's one of the owners of Cornell Property LLC. I'd like to invite him up and to explain to the board sort of what has prompted the owner's desire to have this two-car garage and what benefit it will serve to the current functions of the property. So, Mr. Cornell, if you wouldn't mind come up just real quick.
Thank you. Don, if you could state your name, address.
Yeah, my name is Don Cornell, and my address is 1219 Wildwood Road in Crestwood, Kentucky. And,
Raise your right hand.
oh, I'm sorry.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
All right, so the garage itself is going to be a 24 by 24 foot garage. On the back side of that garage, and the reason why I want this variance would be an extra 16 foot so I can, to use as a shed and storage, which I don't have on the property right now. So instead of me getting a separate shed, I want to just attach it to the garage so we don't have to have the shed there. You know, I won't need a shed after that. So that's why I want the variance. I want the 24 by 24 foot is for the garage itself. And on the back side of that would be a 16 by 24 foot add-on to it.
the reason why the storage is designed to be a part of the garage itself and not in the existing structure.
Yeah,
that is
because
there.
I just wanted streamlined. It's all in the back anyway. The garage would be somewhere. I mean, the shed would have to be, I'd have to have a place to put my implements to cut the grass and what have you. So it just seemed better just to put it along with the garage as opposed to having a separate structure somewhere else on the property.
And is the current property, is there storage space in
There is no storage space whatsoever on the property. There's no shed or storage shed.
The property is currently being used for short-term rental as well as a museum. Did I hear that right?
Well, there's really not, it's only a short-term rental. It's an Airbnb right now, the house itself. So the garage is something that we want to put up. It's not just for the Airbnb, but we may end up living in this house here. So, so that's one of the reasons why we want to put that in. If we live in this house, we have to have a garage to put our cars in. So we just want to get that in. We just want to be able to have that option to put that in. There is no garage at all in this property. We just have whatever is available, what is going to be available at the time, even for my the people who stay at the Airbnb or at the mercy of what's available around the house as far as parking is concerned. So this would solve some of the problem. So it's a twofold thing. It's for us in case we move into this house, and it's also an option for the tenants too.
Has there been any discussion, what Attorney Craig Mile was mentioning about, and I'm very familiar with the property as well. Currently, in an area approximately in between where the proposed garage is and the home, there on Washington, there is a pull-off area of sorts that everybody uses for parking.
That's
correct. Is that part of the city property, or
Yes.
is that part of Mr. Cornell's property? And would that need to go away if it was, approved to have the garage there, or the city?
Wouldn't necessarily have to. We'd probably leave it up to the roads department.
Okay, I know they've had some issues at times with, during big public events, with, they might have the house rented or something, and then
People
the
parking
people
there.
park in those two little places, and then, heck, they ain't got nowhere to park for the house that they've rented for the
Yeah.
weekend and all, so
Yeah.
I was just curious. I guess, the driveway part would assist with that. The maximum number of accessory buildings allowed on this property then is 2,
Right.
but there doesn't necessarily have to be 2. I mean,
Right, but they're, are you gonna have bathroom in it?
No.
Okay, I mean, that kind of rules out the short-term rental opportunity. I mean, some people put a second building on there and then call it a mother-in-law house, and grandma
Yeah,
lives in
no,
the
we're
back.
not doing that. That would be way too expensive.
okay, that's the only questions I have. Thank you, sir.
Just to continue, Mr. Chairman and members of the board, so this slide is just a rehash of what the standard is. Again, we're seeking a 160 square foot variance from 800 to 960. Again, I said it in the previous presentation, but the standards that are being applied today are in KRS 100.243 sub 1. The board would need to make findings that granting this variance of 160 square feet will not adversely affect public health, safety, or welfare, will not alter the essential character of the general vicinity, will not cause a hazard or a nuisance to the public, and will not allow an unreasonable circumvention of the requirements of the zoning regulation. And in considering these standards, the board should consider whether variances arise from special circumstances which do not apply to the land in the general vicinity or in the same zone, whether the strict application of the regulation will deprive the applicant of reasonable use of land or create an unnecessary hardship in the applicant, and whether the circumstances are the result of actions the applicant has taken subsequent to the adoption of the zoning regulation from which relief is sought. Again, taking these, trying to address each of these in particular and combining the first and the third factors, because I believe that they are sort of consistent in their purpose and their analysis. We submit that increasing the total area for this garage and storage accessory by 160 square feet will not adversely affect public health, safety, or welfare, nor will it create a hazard or a nuisance. Again, keeping in mind that what this is intended for is simply a garage and storage. There's nothing inherently hazardous about that would lead to any sort of public health or safety or welfare risk. I would just point out that, essentially one way to think about this is the request is basically equivalent to a request of an enlargement of 12.5 by 12.5. That's basically 160 square feet. So not a overly large enlargement of the requirements for the accessory. And of course, we think there would be some public benefit by allowing for parking of this two-car garage off the street. That will aid and reduce the numbers of cars parked on the street and aid traffic flow and safety as those cars can be moved off the street and into the property itself. Similarly, this variance will not alter the essential character of the general vicinity. And consider this, I'd like to point out that other nearby lots have multi-car garages already. And what I'd like to do is just show you a couple of aerial views of some very close in proximity properties. This next slide, you can see here at the top left-hand portion, this shows the 109 South Walnut Avenue, the current, as it's currently developed. Across the street and on the corner of East Washington and South Cedar, this 207 East Washington, you can see there is a significant residential structure there, and to the south there is a detached garage. I'd like to zoom in on that just for a second. You can see, I don't know the exact square footage of this accessory, but that seems to me to be a pretty significantly sized accessory. It appears to me that it is the driveway is designed to allow or accommodate two cars to pull in, and of course it looks like there is some space here to the south end beyond what is outside of what is probably, in my view, the area reserved for the parking. So in some ways very similar to the accessory that the Cornells are seeking to have on their property. Similarly, again, this is another slide. Again, the Cornell's property is here on the bottom left-hand corner, but now we're looking east across South Cedar Street, corner of South Cedar and East Washington. This is another residential area that has an accessory, a detached car garage. Again, it looks to be it can accommodate two cars, given the size of the width of that driveway. So again, what the Cornells are doing is just simply asking to be able to do what other residents or people in the area have already done. So no great departure. And I would also, in considering what the essential characteristic of this neighborhood is, just to consider again, as I mentioned, that the design is meant to reflect the current design of the structure that is there. So it'll be consistent with what is already in the neighborhood. So it'll have a pleasing and consistent look with what is already there. And finally, 160 square foot variance will not allow for the unreasonable circumvention of the regulation. Again, I would just underscore that this is a relatively modest variance from the total accessory to meet the parking needs and the storage needs for the museum and the residential component of the existing building. So it's simply trying to accommodate the business needs of the current structure and what its current purpose is. On on the flip side of that coin, we would submit that the strict application of this accessory total area regulation would deprive Cornell of the reasonable use of the property and create an unnecessary hardship. They would be deprived of the ability to have the storage component of this structure. That, and again, is an amenity that appears to be granted to other people in the area. It would deprive them of the ability to construct this needed storage space for the residents, which is a historic property because of the memorial it has in order to preserve the history surrounding Buddy Pepper and Mr. Strawn. And so in some ways it is limited in its ability in its current configuration to utilize the space for storage. And so allowing the storage to be combined with the garage would allow them to support that structure and what is going on in the historical part of that property. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions that the board may have.
Any of the board members have any questions for the applicant or? At this time, I'd also like to ask, is anybody present that wishes to speak in opposition of this application or in favor of this application? Come forward and please state your name and address and all that good stuff.
Stephanie Winther, Code Enforcement Officer with the City of LaGrange. I'm not here to speak for or against. I just have a couple questions. So currently, to clear up the parking issue, this house currently does not have any parking. It is on-street parking only. So that area that they currently use is considered on-street parking. They are parked in the right-of-way, so they're not actually on the street, which a lot of those properties along there, that's where they park. There's no other option. My question on this is, I couldn't tell from the pictures and the design, the setback of the garage, if they're going to be parking their cars on the driveway, are they going to be blocking the sidewalk? That is a very big issue in the city right now, cars blocking sidewalks. So we want to make sure buildings are set back far enough that if there's two cars parked there, that there's still access for ADA requirements to get people through. And that is a city sidewalk. There would have to be an encroachment permit issued, but that's part of the permitting and the planning process when they get to that point. That's my question. It's just, where are the cars going to be able to park? Will the sidewalk be free for pedestrians?
Question. Mr. Cornell, can you come forward and answer the question for that?
There's not going to be any cars that are going to be in front of the garage that will cover the sidewalk. So that's not the plan. There's not going to be any parking. I understand what they're talking about. If you have it's not going to be set back that far enough to put a car in front of it without blocking the driveway. So we either park in the garage or we park on the street, one or the other.
Okay. Ms. Winther?
So the ordinance currently in the city of LaGrange is if you have a driveway, you have to park your cars in the driveway. So you would have to park in the driveway before you could park outside the driveway. So we want to make sure that the garage is far enough back that if you have two cars parked in the driveway, that you have access to the sidewalk. And I don't know can you pull up a picture?
I understand exactly what you're talking about because we're going through a parking change right now anyway.
Right there, right. So what I'm trying to figure out from here is how much space is right here.
So there's going to be at least 5 feet right there, and that's not going to be enough. You're saying that the garage has to be pushed back all the way to allow a car to get in front of the porch?
I would say yes. If you're going to park a car in your driveway, you have to leave access to the sidewalk.
Yeah, but if we're not parking in the driveway and we're actually parking in the garage itself?
That would be fine, but if somebody else is parked in that right-of-way and you need some other place to park, you have to park in your driveway. You can't park on the street.
Okay, I'm still not following that.
I think,
Stephanie, doesn't the ordinance say, we just had this come up, so we're very
Yeah, this is a
intimately-
hot issue right
I think the
now.
ordinance says if you have space in your driveway, you're required to park there first. But then if you have guests or visitors, you're then allowed to park on the street or in a pull-off area.
If the driveway is full.
if your driveway's full. So that's why she suggested moving it back enough so that if you needed to park in front of the garage, if the doors were shut,
I understand that. So for me to push the garage back to allow, what for another car would be 12 feet at least, 16 feet?
I don't, how far do you need for a driveway? I don't think you need 20 feet for a car.
I mean,
I don't know either.
My truck is at least 12 feet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right,
So I
right.
would need at least 12 feet past the sidewalk. That's going to be about 16 feet almost to the front of the garage. For me to push it back that far would be encroaching on the back side, even though I'm 16 foot away, 20 feet away from my property right now, the way it sets right here from the side. If you look at the lot itself, I'm 20 feet at least away from the other piece of property. For me to push it back, I'll be pushing it back to, very close to the back side of the property.
So that was my only question, is we need to make sure we're keeping sidewalk access.
Can I ask one favor?
Sure.
Can you take that mic and split it about halfway between you all? We want to make sure we get everything recorded.
understand, I
Sometimes it's
understand.
really sensitive and all about not picking up. So the current out to the sidewalk here, 5 foot, and then, does that say 8?
Yeah, that goes to the sidewalk, I believe is what that is. 8 foot,
From the 5 foot mark out to the sidewalk is 8?
I think so, yes.
Okay. It's hard for me to make that out here.
Now,
All
the
right.
zo- the
what-
zoning- the
It looks
zoning
like
itself-
the 5 foot is to the edge of the fence. And it's 8 foot from the road to the edge of the fence.
That's what I thought too. I thought
Gotcha,
the
okay.
Zoning, well, I thought the zoning was you had to be at least 5 foot from the property line on the front and 5 foot from the side. Is that correct? Okay.
what is it from the rear? The rear
I don't think anybody here
I'm
knows.
over 20 feet, so.
Well, I mean, you could push it back a few feet, couldn't you?
Well, you see, the problem is I have 3 white oak trees back there, and even though it'll be pushing into the root system of those trees. It would probably kill the tree to bring even bring it back 10 feet. So right now, it's away from the drip line, and once I start going into the drip line, it's going to kill those trees. And those trees are, oh my God, those trees are huge. They're old trees. They've been there for a long, long time. And we already had to take 2 trees down that were dying.
Yes.
Sorry, it seems to me that, really this is an issue of sort of code enforcement, right? If somebody's overhanging the sidewalk, that would give grounds for, issuing a citation, right? If their car is obstructing the sidewalk itself. And that's a possibility even if this were to be pushed back, right? I mean, you'd always have the possibility that the 2-car garage would be full, and then I guess you could, in theory, have guests that are there that are parked in the driveway. Even if you had it pushed back to where you could get, 2 full cars in the driveway, if you had, say, 4 guests, in theory, they could still park in a way that would obstruct the property. So I don't see what the benefit is or that this factor should weigh against the application, because you can, in theory, always have a situation where somebody is parked there in such a way to obstruct the sidewalk, and that the cure for that is to issue a citation to whoever is parked there, as opposed to forcing the property owner to push the accessory back in a way that actually won't necessarily resolve the concern that has been raised by code enforcement here today.
I think and this is my thought and opinion on this, and Officer Winther can certainly advise, is that currently there's not a problem. But you put the garage in specific to this drawing, then there will be a problem with people blocking that sidewalk. Instead of, unless, I don't know what the solution to it, certainly citations, but if you kind of play ahead on the game and not have to issue these citations, which I just feel like it would always be a problem with people parking right there and violating that parking ordinance.
Yeah. So
Instead of telling them, they could pull out on the street. Either that, or you'd say there's no parking in the driveway itself, you have to have the door open and park in the garage. That
Yeah.
takes care of it too.
Oh, yeah. That, I mean,
Yeah.
but that's why to me, it was a given that we were going to park in the garage and not in front of the garage.
Right, right,
I mean, that would
okay.
take out that would to defeat the purpose of even having the garage if I'm not parking in the garage.
Yeah.
So when you speak of a problem with people parking in front of the garage, do you mean my tenants, me, or the
You
resident,
or your tenant.
or just other people who are attending an event where there's an
It could
overflow?
be all of the above.
Yeah.
It could be, because if your 12-foot truck extends 6+ feet.
Yes, I understand
out
that.
And blocks the sidewalk area, that's a violation.
Yeah, so
And-
there's other houses. If I'm not mistaken, there's other 2-car garages that are set up out there that are not set back to allow for a vehicle.
I don't know, I can't speak from the side of code enforcement if there's been problems at others around there. I believe that Ms. Winter's going off of what this drawing physically is showing
Yes,
us.
I understand, and it is pretty accurate about where we want it at anyway.
Right.
So,
Right.
so-
I have a question for Stephanie. Have you said this is a growing concern, sidewalk access? Have actual numbers been developed where from the sidewalk they want to limit construction at a certain distance, or is this just something that the city is starting to say we need to do something?
Well, the city has said something for several years, and I know that the push is on for like new construction for new subdivisions to make sure that the houses are set back enough that
My question is, what's enough? Do we know what enough
That
is?
distance that it needs to be set back at.
I think
To
just
allow
as
for a
long as
car.
you have a car parked there that's not overhanging the sidewalk, that would be enough.
But Mr. Cornell says, I got a 12-foot truck. I don't have a 12-foot truck. My car is about 4 foot shorter.
I got a Mini Cooper.
Yeah. So that leaves the property owner at a disadvantage trying to, I don't know if this code has been fleshed out completely.
If there is no code that requires this thing to be set back from the sidewalk, then there's no point in having this discussion. I mean, it's an interesting discussion, but it doesn't have any
That's 5 foot.
bearing
isn't
on
it?
whether or not we approve this.
That's what it strikes me. I mean, the city can put up a sign, don't park across
The
the,
city can
on the
discuss it.
road there.
the plan was for us to put up a sign in front of there that do not block.
Do not block the sidewalk, yeah. Because in times of Oldham County Day and the like, cars are going to be everywhere. Even getting in and out of your garage is going to be quite the trick, because cars they park everywhere on Oldham County Day.
On events, you're absolutely right? So if there's an event going on, a main event, it could get covered up there. Most of the time, that's not the case.
Right, that's
right. But there are times that yes, there would be there'll be lots of cars there. They wouldn't be able to park there. That would be 2 cars. If they were parking this way, right, which they don't, they park this way. So we're really only taking 1 car ability to park on the property, which has parking on both sides, by the way, right? And on Walnut Avenue, there's a lot, and if anybody who's familiar with that, we can bring up that picture again. On the left of the house, if you're looking at the original front of the property, so if you go back to the where it has the sign on the actual picture on the front, okay, so see where the salon is at to the left. There's a big gigantic lot there, right? I can't do anything. I'm landlocked by the city's parking spaces that they put up there, so I can't do anything with that. I mean, to me, it would be like a natural place to put the driveway, but I don't have any access to that because the city has taken away that access by putting parking up. So the only place I really have access to is the back part of the house. If I can't have that access, then there is no parking for me at all on this property.
I appreciate the city's concern for access, handicap, sidewalks, all that kind of stuff. I appreciate that. But I agree with a gentleman down here. If that hasn't been fleshed out fully, I don't see how that affects Mr. Cornell's plan, which seems like a good plan to me. So
I just wanted to make it on the record that it is against city ordinance to park across the sidewalk. So that was my question, is how far back is the driveway going to go to the garage?
I understand that. Mr. Fisher, do you have comment, please?
Yeah, and I think I might need to be sworn in. I don't know if I have been or not yet.
We trust you.
My other comments were off the record earlier. Sorry, my arm's getting tired.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. I just want to frame it up, and it's been very good discussion, and like Stephanie just came up and said, that the current ordinance as it stands right now is that you can't park across the sidewalk. So before you, as the Board of Adjustments, you have a variance for an accessory structure, the size of it. Okay, so that's what you all are voting on today. So you could take a look at this case and say, because of this issue with the driveway, and that you see a potential going forward that there's going to be citations when he has renters come in, you all could choose to deny the size variance for that. And then he's back to the drawing board to either make this smaller and push it back so that that allows that, or you could choose to approve it today, and it ultimately is going to become a code enforcement issue if cars are parking across that sidewalk. And so just remember that before you all, and I know we get sometimes off the track, is that we're not the code enforcement board. You all are simply voting on a variance for the size of this building. But you can always take into account that testimony that Stephanie provided about the potential for cars parking across that sidewalk. So
Right.
I just want to try to frame that up for you.
To jump in, I agree. I would also agree with the attorney's point of view that even if you moved it back, that doesn't prevent someone from still parking across the sidewalk. So if the city wants to have rules about how far a garage needs to be from a sidewalk, they need to codify that, and then we can observe those. But for today, we're just approving a variance for the setback.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much for that. And I mean, they could build the accessory as it is without 160 square foot, and I mean,
Right.
all we're asking is for the 160 square feet, because there is no, as Mr. Pierce pointed out, there is no, setback variance for where the garage has to start. At least we're not seeking any variance from anything that would
But
regulate
because
that.
of the 160-foot extra for storage, that's why it has to be where it is, along with the problem of the oak trees or whatever being back there. That's why it can't be scooched back anymore, correct?
I mean, that's true, but I really, I don't want the garage set too far back. If you look at if we go back to where the picture of the napkin drawing that we had, what I like to call it. So if I go, but let's say I went back 12 feet, and then I'd have a fence that's like 12 feet, and it'll be a huge enclave inside there. I didn't really want that. To push so even if it was just a 24 by 24, just a standard 2-car garage, I wouldn't want it set back. I wouldn't want to waste all the, my backyard on pushing it back to the front. The front doesn't do me any good. Do you understand what I'm saying? I didn't. My plan was never to put a car in front of the garage. That's never been my plan. The garage is to put a car in, not in front of.
Right.
Right. So, and I understand the point that because there's a new structure coming up, it could be a problem with somebody parking in front. But to me, it would be like me parking in a no parking zone and I get a ticket, right? Mm-hmm. So if someone, and I understand that the point of I don't want to block the driveway myself. There's been a lot of thought in this. I didn't want to block the driveway myself. So it seems to me if there's an ordinance about parking and blocking the driveway, then they would just simply give you a citation if you didn't want to listen to, if you didn't abide by that. Isn't that correct?
Correct.
So where the garage sets at, according to the setback, that should really have no bounds. This should have no. It shouldn't be any reason why this shouldn't be allowed because it's you're not allowed to block the driveway irregardless, right? You'll get a ticket if you do that anyway. So I don't understand. I'm trying to figure out why. I know that there's a potential for someone to park illegally there. But I think there'd be a potential irregardless, wouldn't there be? Even if it was pushed back, there would still be a potential. You're not allowed to block the driveway.
You got a 25-foot car, yeah.
Yeah.
Or multiple cars.
Or multiple cars
Yeah.
stacked up there.
Potential is always going to be there.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, so question for Mr. Craig Mile?
No,
No?
no more. I mean, I think she was just trying to give you some helpful hints, that's all.
yeah.
I have no more questions.
Would it be possible then, go along with what Mr. Fisher had mentioned, what we are here to do is, approve the variance, but still taking in a little consideration as to we're not code enforcement and all that, and we're not here to dictate any of that, but knowing that there could be a potential problem, could we place a binding element into this approval of this variance that states something along the effect that there will be no parking at all directly in front of the door of the garage there to help alleviate that problem?
It's not in there right now, but I don't see why you can add that. Unless Ryan.
So that might be a consideration for us. I don't know.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just address that
Yes,
question.
sir.
I mean, from our view, there is no actual necessity for including a condition of that nature because the law will exist and stand regardless of whether that is put in a condition here. The law is that you can't block the driveway or block the sidewalk, right? That will exist no matter what. And so again, I don't know how you would enforce that if that were made a condition of approving this variance, but the appropriate enforcement mechanism is for code enforcement to issue a citation, and then they would pay the fine, right? So our view is that wouldn't be necessary because that's already taken into consideration by the existing law.
I agree with that.
You good with that? All right. Thank you, sir. All right, so what we stand looking at now is we are wishing to approve or deny a variance of 160 feet. Is that correct?
That's correct, Mr. Chairman.
160 square feet. 160 square feet for the construction of a 24 by 40 garage at 109 South Walnut Avenue. So I'm asking for a motion to approve or deny on that.
I motion to approve.
Okay, all righty. And that is for, can you read
He
everything?
has no idea what to do
Okay.
here.
Well,
You have to state the reasons.
the reasons, yeah, well, do you just literally read this?
Help him out with that, Al.
A motion to approve the variance because it will not adversely affect public health, safety, and welfare, will not alter the social character of the general vicinity, will not cause a hazard or nuisance to the public, and will not allow an unreasonable circumvention of the requirements of the zoning regulations because the strict application of the provisions and the regulations would deprive the applicant of the reasonable use of land and would create unnecessary hardship on the applicant. Number one. I'm confused. Like to literally read that? Yes. Okay. The variance shall only apply to the application considered at the November 17th, 2025 Oldham County Board of Adjustments public hearing. The applicant shall obtain all necessary building permits and inspections from the appropriate agencies before occupying the accessory structure.
You might want to consider adding permission from the historical.
Yeah, you need to add, the applicant shall obtain approval from the LaGrange Historic Board prior to building permits too. That is, it's on here, but it's not on your staff report.
Yeah.
Okay.
As far as it matching, well, that was their intention.
All right, so I think we've got everything, all the elements that need to be into that motion. Now we need a second on that motion, please.
Second.
We have a second. All in favor
Aye.
of passing it? Vote aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? There being none, motion passes for the 160 square foot variance. Thank you very much. Next thing on the agenda this morning is the approval of the minutes from the July 21st, 2025 meeting. You have those in front of you. You can see any corrections, anything there that needs to be changed, please mention it. Being no comments on the meetings from July 21st, 2025, need a motion to approve those minutes, please.
Motion to approve.
Motion accepted. I need a second. I have a motion, a second. All in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
Vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? There being none, motion passes. Any old business, any of that good stuff? Nope. There being none, I need a, whoops, excuse me. Go ahead, sir.
So we obviously I don't think there'll be any more Board of Adjustments hearings this year for you all. We'll probably get with you all next year. I'm maybe looking at doing some training if we have a meeting date where there's not a lot of cases, especially since we've got a new member and you all are still relatively new. We haven't had too many cases. So we'll probably look at that going forward. And then I believe we may have had a special birthday a couple days ago. I think somebody celebrated their 40th here. So we'd like to wish our chairman a little belated birthday.
Nobody up here 40 years old.
Well, I think that's what I saw on Facebook. So I just wanted to say happy birthday to Keith, belated.
I
Thank you
actually
very
just
much.
turned 40 in October, Keith.
Ryan, how
but,
many hours of training are required?
Oh, geez, that's a loaded question without my document in front of me. So I believe now it is, so you have to get initial training. You have to get, as a board member, you have to get 8 hours every,
2 years?
no, well, it used to be 2 years. Now it's 4 years. So, but one of those has to be in housing availability and supply. So I don't know if we have sent you all that document that's got all the links on it. If we have, I believe we may have. If not, we'll send it back out. So there's a lot of different YouTube videos on there. There's a whole section on different housing supply ones. So that's an easy one. If you could go to one of those links, watch a YouTube for an hour. There's some podcast on there as well. And then, like I said, we'll look at doing some training that is specific to us as far as here locally. So our Oldham County Board of Adjustments, we're having our planning commission, we're having our county surveyor, Walter Denham, come in and do a class on surveys. So stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah, so the initial orientation training, so for new members, you have to get 4 hours within 1 year, and one of those 4 has to be in housing supply and availability. And then going forward, you have to get 8 hours of continuing ed every 4 years from the date of your appointment. One of those hours, once again, has to be in housing supply and availability. So it used to be every 2 years. Now it's every 4. They've actually increased our staff's trainings requirement, but you all have a little bit more time to get it. And like I said, that document, if we haven't sent it, we'll send it back out again today to everybody. There's plenty of opportunities on there, and if you watch anything on there, just simply send us an email, or there's an attached form that you can fill out and send to us and say, hey, I watched this video on this date, and we'll plug it into your training record, and then that way we keep all that stuff straight. So,
Great. Awesome. All righty. One more thing then, and mentioning about the food drive y'all are having, boxes downstairs. Same can apply for any presents that, needed to be donated for the birthday. I'll just leave that down there by Ryan's, and you can just put, presents in there. I think the only thing now we need is a motion to dismiss. Aye. It's done. Thank you.